Have you ever wondered how AI can revolutionize your personal workflow? In this particular video, I will share my go-to AI tools. This has been a request from you as an audience in some of the comments, and I will give you an overview of which AI tools I am going to use for which purpose and what are the pros and cons and some caveats to consider. And if you stay until the end of the video, I will also touch shortly a topic which I'm going to refine a little bit later in other videos about the ethical implications about AI and when to use it and when, from my perspective, not to use it. Now, let's get into it. At the beginning of our list is a model that everyone knows and I think everyone has been using already in the free or maybe paid version, and that's the good old ChatGPT. It was the pioneer of all of this hype because ChatGPT came out in 2022. The model, the first model is much older, but this was the beginning of the hype when OpenAI was able to introduce an interactive interface where normal users without any coding skills and without using an API were able to interact with the model in a proper way. Now, this is the interface as of today, as of October 2024, with the Pro subscription. And you can see, you can select here a couple of options. And the default is the GPT-4o. O is an omni-modality model, which means it can digest a couple of inputs and not only language, so namely text documents, PDFs, but also video links, audio files, Word files, whatever. Then there is the new beta feature, which is Canvas, which they have introduced a couple of weeks ago, and which provides a more interactive way of interacting with the content. And this is in particular interesting if you want to develop texts, but also if you want to develop code. Now, for coding, I'm not using ChatGPT, I'm using a different model, and I come to this later in this video. The O1 model, also omnimodality, but at the moment it is really focused on reasoning. And this is also in preview. This is a model which has a certain internal logic of reprompting itself and refining the prompts to provide advanced reasoning capabilities. This model has therefore the highest costs if you want to use it via an API, and it's also relatively slow compared to other models. But in the current leaderboard, it is one of the highest capable logical models ever. This is something important to know. Now, in the standard model, which is ideal for most of the tasks, as it says here, I'm sorry, this interface is in German, I cannot really change it. I think it's related to the settings of my browser. What I want to demonstrate here, where I think ChatGPT has very good capabilities, is if you want to, for example, add a certain question regarding a document which you can reference externally. And I'm now going to ask these questions which I have here in my clipboard. Display the sales figures graphically, the sales column is X, where you calculate the total sum of all sales per month and present it in a bar chart with the order date on the X-axis. And here I have this document in OneDrive, and I'm now going to open it or to paste it here as an add-on, and you see it understands the link. It is also digesting the information, yeah, let's see what the model does. So here, this is of course a sample document from the internet, so you can also use the same one. And you will see here, first of all, it displays the information in a quite well readable way. You can even zoom in and yeah, analyze the data in some useful way. It's not like Excel, of course, but you can at least visualize and see the content. And here you see the results, the total sales per month. So this is the output. If you make it a little bit smaller, this is what you get. And it has calculated, summed up as I have prompted, the sum of sales per month, and it's now giving on a monthly distribution. Now, first of all, I don't like these small bar charts here. Bar chart should be a little bit wider, so the presentation is not ideal, but it's okay. Now we can actually refine the query and drill a little bit more into detail, and you see here also two proposals. Can you show sales by category, and can you calculate monthly profit? So let's try what the outcome is, and you see how ChatGPT is now able to analyze particular columns of the spreadsheet and drill down into the background, and you can see that output here. Now you can also create an interactive diagram, and this is maybe what I should have asked right from the beginning, because here you can now see the actual numbers. You can really go into some details. You see the sum of sales here as an explicit number, whereas in the diagram you wouldn't be able to tell the exact figures, and here is the same. It does not give me, because this is obviously profit, it should have a unit which is US dollars in this case. It does not give me this, but that's something we could probably refine later. And here, this is always when you ask ChatGPT queries like that, there is a little icon like this, and then you see the proper code which it has created in the background. So if you are a proficient Python reader or understand Python code, then you can go into details and analyze this code and even copy it externally. For example, in a Jupyter notebook, load this this particular Excel or CSV, whatever file you have, and then do the analysis externally as well. But the thing here is, it gives you, if you're not a proficient Python programmer and just want with human language interact with the data, it gives you a fantastic way of doing so. You can, by the way, also change some internal settings to always show this code if you wish to, and this may even be convenient to some of you. Can also just download the chart. You can also make it, of course, now larger, and now again interact here with the model in full screen mode. So if you want to do, let's call it data science for dummies, really a fast analysis of data, this is a very, very useful tool. Now, the O1 model, for example, is extremely slow, but if we ask here a question like, explain the ideal constitution and what are the main bullet points, sorry, my typing again, to consider. And let's say max 10, okay? And let's see what the outcome is. So first of all, reasoning. And it's quite slow, but you see there is a couple of steps, reasoning steps and refining and so on. So if you know already the tool Perplexity, there is a slight similarity, but it works on a different basis, because this model is really prompting, giving some output, prompting again, and refining the content. So what you see here is an ideal constitution serves as a supreme legal framework for a nation, defining the structure of government, etc. And what it gives us is separation of power, checks and balances, protection of fundamental rights, rule of law, democratic governance, judicial independence, amendment process, federalism and decentralization, protection of minority rights, and transparency and accountability. Now, I'm not going into detail of a political discussion now, but this is interesting if you want to do some more fancy research, and you can really ask some more scientific questions, logical questions, and the output is quite interesting and really going very, very deep into the details. But have in mind, it is a preview model at the moment, and there are still some limitations. Now, last but not least, also recently, OpenAI has introduced a new feature called Canvas. And Canvas, or let's actually create a new one, to be honest. Canvas is a feature which gives you some different interface or usability enhancements. It's not a different model, it's still 4.0, and as you can see, only 4.0 is available in Canvas. So the 0.1 preview and the 0.1 mini is not available. Currently only this one. So let's say, please create a simple HTML marketing page based on Bootstrap, which is an HTML framework. Okay, I'm copying that because we can try the same thing in another model a little bit later. Now, here, of course, and you see what happens. ChatGPT creates now a separate window for the code, outputs the content, and makes the code window large. And you can see how it creates the content live, and it's now available here. And it's now an interactive document. And by the way, you can now, as you can see, start to add your own code snippets. You can also see here, you can add comments, you can correct mistakes, you can translate it if it's a document for text in a different language, and you can of course copy and paste this and use it for any other application. For example, paste it into a web page editor and see how it looks like. But that's it. I mean, you can, for example, now also create this here, ChatGPT, and make a comment on this code section, and it will highlight this code section, and you see here there is a okay, consider replacing the placeholder with a real image that represents your brand. This will make the about yours. Okay, I mean, that's fine, but it did not really comment what the code is about, but it just proposed a change, which is fine, but it's not what my original intention was. So this is Canvas. It is more or less turning ChatGPT into a text-based editor, and you can also use this for text generation. So for example, let's start a new one. Create a simple fiction story about a child and a ghost. Now again, once upon a time, blah blah blah, and now you have here this little story, and it's actually, yeah, interesting what comes out. And now we have here, for example, additional options. We can add emojis, we can refine, we can adjust the reading level and make it a little bit, for example, even more advanced for graduates. Okay, so let's see what the outcome is when we do that. It's now rewritten, and you see it's creating longer paragraphs, longer subclauses, and the text is on a higher level. But of course I can do the opposite and also make it a little bit simpler. And let's really go for the simplest, kindergarten level, okay? And let's see what happens here. Well, if this is really kindergarten level, I would doubt, but you see the point. So it can adjust the individual text components. You see that there are smaller paragraphs, more spaces between to separate and make it more readable, make it more digestible, and this is actually the intention about it. So you can play around and also make this whole shorter and make a very, very short story out of it. And now you will see what happens. Yeah, so definitely much more concise. Yeah. You can also say here, okay, maybe explain. This is an additional item where you can, for example, rephrase in a simpler way. And you see how ChatGPT makes a different sentence, which at least ChatGPT considers to be a little bit more or easier to read. So that's the Canvas feature. We could, of course, go into much more detail what this is all about, but I think for the beginning, that's a good start. And this is how I sometimes interact with bits of text. You can start with an outline. You can then go into some detail and reformulate the individual passages and create longer sections of text. But again, as I'm not using AI for text generation because I think it is lacking the real important information, it is not giving you a lot of originality, and the human touch is missing. So I'm not using it for text generation, but I'm using it mainly for analyzing some pieces of code. Now, coming to code and also to language features, there is Claude. Claude is a tool from Anthropic. And this interface is, it is all quite similar. You also have on the left side a specific menu, which is auto hide in this case. But you can also create here, of course, your questions. And by the way, the model Claude 3.5 Sonnet, here it says new, has just been updated. I think I've received the mail notification yesterday, so it's fairly new. And Claude has also published a new feature which allows you to install a particular development application on your laptop or any computer, which then allows you to create or interact with the interface as a human agent. So it can then do keyboard strokes, it can use the mouse, it can really interact with any application using mouse gestures, pulling down the menus, typing text in text boxes, etc., as you are interacting with the machine. So it actually takes the human machine interaction to the next level and provides an agent to do this. Now, of course, this is experimental, and I would highly recommend not to use this on a production machine where you have stored any sensitive information, where you may have cookies in your browser to access banking data or whatever, because you never know what this model is really doing. So be warned about this. I've tried on a development machine, and I may make a video about this as well. But at the moment, you burn a lot of credits, which you have to use to interact with this model. And actually, compared to a human, it is comparably slow. So while these models are fast in generating text, but this reasoning and this interaction with the user interface is much slower than a human can do. And therefore, at the moment, I see this only as a proof of concept, but not as a real usable application for productive use. Now, let's try one thing. This is why I've copied this recent text, and let's create another sample of a small web application. And you can see that the Claude interface has a couple of advantages that I really appreciate, because these called artifacts provide a very useful way of interacting with the content in a different way than Canvas, but highly usable. So you get on the right side, I get now the code which is generated, and this window, of course, as you see, allows me directly to download and copy the file, but I can really directly download this into a text file. And since this is going to be a full web page based on the Bootstrap framework, at the end of the day, we are in a browser. This is in Google Chrome, so we should be able to display the content. And this was not possible in the current Canvas setup. And as you can see, wow, it not only creates the code, but it also renders the web page and gives you actually a proposal. And this is all invented by AI. So the hero section of the website, the key features, pricing plans, whatever. I mean, it's nice to have that. The company is obviously called Innovatech. And you can switch here between the preview and the code mode. And that is a very useful feature I like in Claude, because that is something which is not available in ChatGPT. Actually, a quite unique feature in Claude compared to other competitors. Now, this is also possible for example, give me a demo flow chart in Mermaid. I've created already another video, which I will link here on top as a reference, to interpret and digest my handwriting coming from a Remarkable Paper Pro tablet, so digital handwriting captured in a PDF file. And actually any digital handwriting can be used for this. And I've also created a mermaid diagram out of a drawing. Now here I ask, just create me a piece of demo flowchart and render it in Mermaid, and you will see what happens, because it's a similar approach to the generation of the markup language for the web page. It also creates this in an artifact, and then it is able to render this page or this diagram directly in the browser. Again, you can here see the code. If you are somehow familiar to Mermaid, you see how this is coded here with the connections between the individual data points. And here, this is how it looks like if you render the page. You can then, of course, also make it full screen, which is now not ideal. Okay, I will not do this, but I can zoom in a little bit, zoom out a little bit, etc. So this is extremely handy. And by the way, it also allows creating SVG graphics, React components, and as you have seen, complete web applications. Today is an exciting day because Claude AI has introduced a couple of new features, but most remarkable from my perspective is the option to do data analysis. So you can upload a CSV file. However, note there is a size limitation, which is much smaller than the one in ChatGPT. And we are now going to do exactly the same thing and asking this question we have been using as a prompt in ChatGPT. Paste it here and see what the result is. Now it takes some time. I think it takes longer than in ChatGPT, and it's also Saturday afternoon, so this may be the reason. You see now that Claude is creating not Python code, but JavaScript code, and actually it's React code that it's creating. That's interesting. You can also see here that you can open this and expand if you wish to. Okay. And collapse again. It's somehow a little bit sorted. And now generating a visualization in an artifact window. And this is again a React app and not Python code. So this is something different from ChatGPT. So let's see how this is going to look like. Okay. And this is pretty impressive, I would say. This is a very nice presentation of the data that we have given. So you see actually the code, which is also very helpful. It's interesting that the visualization is not based on Python in this case, but on a React app, as you can see. But you see here it's very interactive. It gives you actually the sales numbers, also the amount in US dollars. So it's definitely at least a competition to the version we had in ChatGPT. Okay. Can you calculate monthly profit? So we are trying exactly the same. And you remember that we had here this bar chart here. Okay, and we are now going back and doing the same and see what Claude is doing. So again, for data preparation, Claude is creating here a small bit of code. Yeah, which is based, which we can see here is, okay. So again, it's not based on Python, which is interesting. This is a different choice. You will also now see here as an artifact creating a small applet in React. It's not finished yet. So let's see how it looks like. A little bit slow today. Okay. So that's really fantastic. I love this outcome. Yeah, this is adding additional value, which at least with this simple prompt I've not received in ChatGPT. Of course, you can refine the queries, but here you see now the bar chart with an overlaying profit chart. And here the total sales, the total profit, and the average profit margin. So again, very, very simple. Please note we have just uploaded a CSV file without any previous analysis on which column contains what. So of course you would need to go into the details. I also think that this graphic representation is much more beautiful than the one in ChatGPT at this point. But still, this is not bad, definitely not bad. But this one, and you see here also in ChatGPT, the code is in Python, whereas the code in Claude is based on JavaScript. And here, in fact, here is the profit chart. So you see here the code, and this is definitely based on React. So that is a difference, yeah. Again, I like the presentation. I will go into some further details. We can now, for example, try one more thing, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. So it's really an experiment I'm doing the first time while shooting this video. We have here data from January, February, March, April, May, and June, and I ask, could you amend this plot by a forecast for June, where we had July and August. Now let's see what happens now. Okay, using linear regression, both sales and profit. I'm not sure if linear regression is the right model here, but let's see what the outcome is. Let's just wait. Again, this is the data analysis, and then it's going to update the chart on the right side in the artifact. Okay, the slope. So it really seems to draw now a linear extrapolation for July and August, which I don't think makes any sense, but let's see what the outcome is. You see this here in real time, so it's definitely worth also keeping that in a final video and not editing, because you see the performance. It is not very fast. It may be also related to the time on a Saturday afternoon, but I think, yeah, I mean, it's anyway much faster than if you'd write the code for yourself, that's for sure. So let's see. Here is now, it gets stuck. Doesn't sound good. No, it does. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it seems to be linear, forecast points. I mean, it's definitely great that this is the graphical representation is fantastic. Yeah, it's this in this shaded high light color. It's still included in the same chart with everything available. The third tool I wanted to show you is Perplexity. Now, Perplexity is a tool which is extremely versatile and is, I would sum it up in one sentence, it's Google on steroids. So it is it has the option to act as a search engine and give me answers to my questions. And I can also attach documents, by the way. I can also set the focus to your sources, etc. And I can create spaces. Now, spaces are similar to let's say notebooks in NotebookLM, which I will not cover in this video because I have made a video on this one before. And NotebookLM is a product by Google and is experimental, but this is a more polished product in Perplexity. But let's just go into some query and ask what may be the 10 most important bullet points for a perfect constitution. Okay, let's see what it does. And what you see here is step by step. There's also a reasoning approach which takes a couple of steps, finds some sources, and then they are summarized. And then, I'm sorry for that, I need to refine this query because by default the output is here in German. In English, please. Okay, let's do it again. So, it did interpret my question in a slightly different way, but according to the question, I think it's a reasonable answer. And provides more or less similar main points like ChatGPT. And here is one thing I want to show you, and that are these references. So in Perplexity AI, you always immediately get the references, and you see here, okay, this is even a PDF document. What is a constitution, principles and concepts? Here you have 2 references, and that is absolutely helpful for research. So if you are a knowledge-based worker and you want to research topics, be it for academic papers or be it for blog posts or for any content marketing initiative, this is really a fantastic tool because you can then go into some details and refine the content and verify and maybe add your own interpretation. So this is why I say it's for me a high-level search engine, but gives me not only results and links, but also gives me some sort of summary and interpretation. So the best of both worlds, AI and a glorified search engine. Now there is also this space approach. I can now create a space and bookmarks this by default. There is a space called artificial intelligence for me, obviously, and I call this now a demo, maybe. And if I go now to spaces, you will see here is now a space called demo. Now, what is here different in these spaces? I have now the option to add files. I can upload quite a number of different files and interact with these and create a knowledge base for one particular topic. I can also add custom instructions that apply to all new threads in this space. For example, since my browser setting is in German and it somehow takes this as a, even if it's writing here in English, but most output by Perplexity is in German, I can add always give me English feedback, always create bullet points to be more structured, always create the output in Markdown because I wanted to paste it in a Markdown application, etc., etc. So this is really the main thing. And you see here I can enable web search or not, and I can add particular files. And this is a very, very handy feature that Perplexity offers. Now, there is one thing, and I want to point this out here. Perplexity has been in recent reports accused by Wired and Forbes to have committed plagiarism because they allegedly ignore some of the settings which the nerds among you are knowing that this is part of the robots.txt files, where you can specify on a web page whether the web page is allowed to be crawled by a search engine or not. And this is, of course, something which should be reflected by search engines. And allegedly, Perplexity did not reflect or take this into account. I don't know the real background. I just want to tell you that this is maybe one of the learnings when dealing with AI. It can be challenging, and it is really important that you are aware about your own internal standards of how you want to work with AI, be it your internal company policies, which may not allow you to paste any sensitive information in a public website, so be aware of that, or your internal moral and ethical standards, which require you to deal with this machine-generated content in a very particular way. Next, I want to show you is well, let's go to Gemini now. So Google Gemini has been actually late to the game, even if Google is one of the leading AI companies of the world. But this particular product has been launched as BERT first and then as Gemini, but is related, of course, on a transformer model like ChatGPT and others. And it has one particular advantage. It boosts 2 million token context in the Pro version. And that is a unique proposition for Gemini, because it is much more than all the other models I'm currently aware of, and I am subscribed to. So because of that, it is exceeding the capabilities of many other models, and it also allows you to handle large code bases, but also hours of video content and audio and so on. And that is, of course, something to consider when you want to work with this model, and when you may base your decision on what model to subscribe to on these particular background. Now, there is one thing more I want to show you which sets Google Gemini apart, and this is also a use case when which I sometimes use, and if I want to use that, then I particularly switch to Gemini. It's different than in Perplexity, but it allows you to verify the machine-generated output in a different way. So let's, for example, look for something Google has to know. Let me know the specs of the Gemini Nano model found on recent Pixel 9 Pro phones. Oops. So, and by the way, it's called Nano, not Now, okay? You know that there is a specific hardware implementation on the Google Pro phones, Google Pixel 9 Pro, Fold, non-fold, etc. And this neural engine or specific chip enhances the on-device capabilities. Now, what Google finds here, let me dive into the specs. On device, Gemini Nano is designed to run directly on your Pixel 9 Pro. The Tensor G3, that's how this chip is called. Enhanced accessibility, talkback features, yes, and so on. So that is something. I didn't want to do this now. So this is what you get as an answer Okay, enhanced performance, yes, so measuring multitask, language understanding, solving mathematical problems, etc. Now there is one thing, you have also related links, so you see here in a different way than on Perplexity also the references, which is something I really do like, and that is different than in Perplexity, but it's still very helpful. And you have something more here, double check response. And if you click on this Google button, then what the Gemini model does, it takes a while, as you can see, preparing results. It does compare the output of the AI model with a direct Google search interaction with the Google search engine, which is available in every browser and everyone in the world is using today, in order to verify if the content AI has produced seems to be legit or is maybe a hallucination. So this is an additional step which I only find in the Google Gemini model. And you see here there is an interesting finding here at the beginning okay, what is here the expansion Google search found content that differs like this. Google is using Tensor G4 instead of the Google 9 series, a chip it calls its most efficient yet, and so on. So the AI model, the Gemini 1.5 Pro, or Advanced, which I'm using here, says it's the Tensor G3 processor. Now, a Google search from Droid Life, which seems to be a legit source for me, says it's the Tensor G4. Now, I'm not going in this video to find out which is true, but now you should, if you find something like this, of course, be alert and go into some deeper research, do some Googling, and find I think on the Google specification page of the Pixel phones, you are likely going to find the correct detail. And that's exactly where this feature comes from and what is intended to do. It gives you another level of cross-checking information with the AI model output. And for me, as a researcher and as someone who relies on this information probably to create some content or draw my conclusions, it is absolutely important that I have reliable resources and I can exclude any hallucination with the highest possible probability, or likeliness. So this should not happen, and if it happens, then this is definitely a point to check. And as you can see, you can directly click and go now into some details. Last but not least, for this video, I'm going to show you an additional tool which seems to be different, or two different tools, which seems to be different from the rest. They are not interactive models and chatbot products, but here is the Readwise tool, which I use to archive content. So you can use a browser extension here and actually bookmark any content that you find. You can add books, you can add emails, PDFs, tweets, videos, and so on. On the right side, there's always an automatic summary, very short, and this is called Ghost Readers, summarized with GPT-4o Mini. If you go into the preferences, you see here that I have here integrations. You can integrate a couple of other, reading and bookmarking platforms. You can include Twitter, and here you have your API key, and it says GPT-4 Mini. And here you can paste your own OpenAI key. And this is also why I keep the OpenAI subscription. This is very interesting. You can also send to Kindle. And here adding to library, so a couple of features. Also, you can import RSS subscriptions, and here you have other resources and the applications on all the platforms available. But mainly, this is the most important thing, that you can essentially, if you go to the library list, really have a very, very fast summary, especially also of the videos. And let's go now. Actually, this is mine, so that's nice. Yeah, so it draws it now directly the video from YouTube, and you can go here into details and see all the transcript. And it then plays and you can progress in this. So that's a very handy feature which you can, of course, use to analyze your content.
In a previous video, I have shown you how I use
what happens if I jump here?
And what is unfortunately not highlighted is the exact position in the document. So I see it here, but it's not highlighted. You just see the page.
Okay, so that's very useful. It is not the same category of tools that I have been showing so far, but this is a tool which makes it incredibly useful for me to work with YouTube videos and analyze the content and maybe summarize the content in a short way, etc. And last but not least, there is one particular tool which I'm using and like to use as well. And this is now here. Let's go to the text editor. So this is LanguageTool. Now, many of you will be fans and maybe subscribers of Grammarly. There is one catch or one limitation with Grammarly, and has been for a long time, and this is the limitation to English. I like Grammarly, but I have decided to go for a different language tool called LanguageTool.org, and it is also based on AI and gives me the option to paste here or to interact with text in many languages. As you can see, there's a bunch of languages, even different aspects of English, which may make it handy if you want to distinguish some different orthography rules. Yeah, Portuguese, also Portuguese from Latin America. Other languages, and of course German as well, and the standard languages like French and Italian and so on. So not all the languages of the world, but quite a significant number. There is an integration of LanguageTool as well with the browser and many applications on Mac and on Windows, etc. Why I am using this tool is very simple. All of you will have realized, because I found that the majority of my audience is American, and some Brits, and the rest is really only a small number of watchers in my or subscribers in my on my channel. Of course, my English is not native, so even if I do not script the videos, I just bullet point my thoughts and then stick to the thoughts. But when I write a text, of course, sometimes it happens that there are minor language mistakes. Yeah, sequence of tenses not properly followed, or some formulations which are definitely the foreign language speaker formulations. The idiomatics is not correct. Or what happens to me in particular is, first of all, from academic writing plus German speakers, German tends to have much longer sentences than English, and all of that together actually requires me to use a proper language tool to be my sort of editor when I publish content and write longer articles, for example. And this is why I use, and I did also with ChatGPT, I did with Claude, but this one integrates well with the operating system and with the browser, proofreads every email that I'm writing on the fly, and this is for me very important. It's also based on AI, and it is really a very handy tool. So if you are a foreign language speaker, not English native only, and want to use additional languages, then I can highly recommend this tool. It's really versatile, and essentially it does a similar job as Grammarly. Now finally, NotebookLM. I've presented NotebookLM in another video, which I'm going to link here. It is an AI-based research tool, and it has, again, some similarity with the Perplexity spaces, and allows you to upload quite a large amount of documents and interact with these documents, and that makes this tool extremely handy. I'm not going into details about NotebookLM here in this video again, because it's too long. It's going to be very long anyway, as I see. And I've created another video about that already. So please refer to this video if you're interested. Now, this is a summary of my productivity toolset that I'm really using on a daily basis. There are a couple of things that I would like to point out again, and this is mainly regarding originality and the use case for which you're going to use AI in this particular case. So for me, it is very important to make sure that AI has its advantages and its drawbacks. So it's a tool like any other, and it will likely reshape the way we work in the future. But nevertheless, please retain originality, retain your human element to everything you want to do with AI. And for me, it's a perfect research tool and complements the classical research tools from reading a book, making handwritten notes, looking up any information on Google or any search engine you prefer. And now AI gives this another touch which may speed up your workflow, but it does not replace your creativity. And the controversy of Perplexity AI is just a starting point, and I think we are going to see a lot of these discussions in the future. So always have this in mind when you use such a tool, to use it in a responsible way. Now I'm going to create another video about my development tools when I'm doing coding and software development, which is far too much for this video, which also is already very long, and I will create this in a separate video. So if you are curious, then please like and subscribe, that you are informed about any future updates that I will publish on this channel. Many thanks for your interest, and I wish you a great weekend, and see you in the next one.